Racism is wrong. 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 Racism is wrong.
The human brain is a giant wet radio. Pulsing with electromagnetic impulses, it is how we receive and transmit messages from the world outside our skulls. The wet radio has no knobs. You must wander until you find yourself standing in a clear signal. All wet radios are unique. All wet radios are sublime. Some are AM, some are FM, some are CB, some are shortwave, some are marine band. All different. The different types are not always sensitive to each other's signals, so we have work to reach across the void of space and understand each other. Diversity in wavelength, seeking signals from beyond. Let us find our favorite station and become attuned to the divine. Welcome to Wet Radio, the audio blogzillary of the Killing Floor blog. I am your host, John Manson, and it's all my fault. As you may notice, it is I had originally scheduled this to be an every other week, a bi-weekly, as you would, podcast. But life got in the way. I've had an apartment flood and some various domestic things going on, some marvelous and some really marvelous. But this was going to be originally done on May the 4th, and I wanted to talk all about how I am all about inventing holidays. Inventing a holiday that makes you feel good. And the May the 4th be with you, the Star Wars holiday. I mean, that's good. That's well and that's right and that's caring and that's nurturing and all. But Star Wars is shit. Star Wars is abject, absolute, no good shit when compared to the brilliance that is Star Trek. Now, at a place that I will mention very often, Bill Camp's Meat Market in Oklahoma City, where I worked 14 years, Bill and I tried to get the customers on the Quatlu exchange. We looked up what the Quatlu rate of exchange to the dollar was at any given time and charged our customers accordingly. And whenever we had a task to do, it was always, but first, the Tron. So that's all well and good. Christopher Pike, the captain that wasn't, he was so damned handsome, yet glued to the chair, all radiation burned, waiting to go to the planet where his every green-skinned masturbatory fantasy would become reality. And then my genocidal spirit brother, Colonel Green. He stood on the fantasy planet against Abraham Lincoln and the father of all Vulcan logic. Smugly proud he committed genocide. What have we here? Shitlords of history, ladies and gentlemen. Our first segment here on the blog. We are going to discuss a little guy named Slave Ray. We might have discussed him a little bit last time, but we've got to give him his due. Now, Slave Ray, and if you visit the Killing Floor blog and read the story that I wrote on him, there's some lovely pictures of him wearing a cute pink bra, holding his face behind a toilet seat, and then what looks like him punching Richard Spencer in the head. The 4chan political board thought they had their man. They went berserkowitz and were all happy that a scat boy was going to be the guy who was morally reprehensible about punch Richard Spencer. Then they found out the inconvenient truth that he was dead. Now, excuse me. If Richard Spencer, the vanguard of the white identitarianism, this movement, whatever their optics or whatever it's call it now, if he was able to be clocked in the head by a dead scat boy. What does that say for the white race? How can we survive? I ask you, as an unapologetic white person, how are we going to survive if we are being beaten down by dead cucks? And let me see. He's Mandy's slave, and he just looks so happy. And Mandy looks happy that she's got him on a dog leash. Looks like he's, in this one picture, like he's licking those anal beads. I don't know if they came out of him or Mandy, but he seems very pleased about it. Mandy is putting out a cigarette on his tongue. It's just delightful stuff. So I think everybody needs to take a look either at their whiteness or whether or not being a scat boy is for them. Gonna enjoy a little dead air right now, since we're talking about dead scat boys. Have a sip of purple drink. Ah, good stuff, 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 good stuff. There we go. What have we here?
Hey, have the food in your thing.
It's Mean Cuisine, ladies and gentlemen, and today's food place we are going to profile is the Hungry Frog Diner at approximately 10th and Pennsylvania. I've been driving by this place for centuries, and I do not know why I've spent so much of my life not doing things that I know I would enjoy doing. I like a good, honest diner, and every time I drove by the Hungry Frog, established in 1976, I went, man, that place looks good. I had to stop there. 30 years later, I make it in. Now they have lovely, on the plate glass windows on the outside, they have half their menu written down. And one of the things I noticed that really sent me was spaghetti red. Now at Dolly's, later known as across the street, the said Kennedy operation, they had the spaghetti red. And what that specifically is it's like the Greek chili spaghetti that they serve at the various Greek places in town and also at the Coney Islander downtown. But with a dollop of marinara on it as well. And so that they even had it on their menu. And I'm going to go over it a little bit. I took a picture of their menu. Usual cheeseburgers, hot steak sandwich, hot beef sandwich, and on the dinners, pork chops, chicken fried steak, hamburger steak, chicken fingers, frog legs, of course it being the Hungry Frog, catfish, nacho grande. Well, anyway, I had the spaghetti red, and again, it was the chili and the marinara sauce were kind of sweet, as it were. I gave it a good dousing of Tabasco as well. Chili came with beans, big garlic Texas toast, and it was extremely good. And then for dessert, I think they had some whimsical name for it. It was a strawberry shortcake, strawberry delight they called it. And when I asked for their dessert, I said specifically I wanted something that was made in-house. I think some of their houses, the pies they had for dessert, they outsourced, but this strawberry delight was made in-house, and it was fantastic. The ambience of the place, as you can imagine, there's all sorts of kitschy frog stuff everywhere. The staff was really, really nice. Sometimes when you go into a diner, at least I expect to be treated like crap. And A, the waitresses were delightful, and B, the owner came out. They were very open to being photographed, both the restaurant and themselves, and they said that periodically they... Oh, what's coming up? Redbuds and Sirens. Going to be talking about springtime weather in Oklahoma. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been kind of lame this year, at least in Oklahoma City. I call this the season of disappointment because I don't feel like I'm alive unless I am in the tornado watch. I want to feel, I want to see, we've had some alternately referred to as turd floaters or gully washers or splash and dash, but some brief, modestly heavy rains and a little lightning in the sky, but I have not noticed anything that made me want to duck and cover. And the shtick, the meme, whatever you want to call it, is that the weather people lie for ratings, and they'll put up a thing of not Gary England anymore, Mike Monday, and called him bread salesman of the year when they announce a storm that doesn't come through. And a little bit of that does happen during the winter storm season, but I would have to say sometimes some honest mistakes are made as far as telling people strategy, but by and large I think that we pretty much get the square shooter thing in the spring when the tornadoes are here. And then also got here, I'm holding a pamphlet that I'll put a picture of up sometime. It's by Val Castor, and he used to have a website called stormtrackersforchrist.org. Mr. Castor is a profoundly Christian gentleman, and he would come and do motivational speaking, either just talking about the weather or talking about the weather and Jesus. And the picture of it is an F5 roaring along and a car torn up, and it says, "What could be worse than this? To hear those dreadful words from Jesus on the day of judgment, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.' The subject of heaven and hell is not popular these days, but let's face it, there is nothing more important than your eternal salvation. As storm trackers, our job is to warn you of the coming storm so you can take action to save your life. Now we want to warn you of something far more serious. When people ask what it takes to go to heaven, most people will say to be a good person. Well, let's take a look at God's standard of goodness, the Ten Commandments, and see how good we really are. Number 1, you shall have no other gods before me. Have you always put God first in your life? Jesus said to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. So much that you love for your parents, brothers, sisters, friends, and even your own life is like hatred compared to your love and devotion for God. Have you ever failed to put Him first in your life? That's pretty hard. Well, we'll get back to the rest of the commandments next time.
It's a rainbow of hate. It's a rainbow of hate.
We are looking at the slur of the day. The slur of the day, where we take a look at the rich culture of language that we use to demean, insult, and disenfranchise one another, particularly Whitey against absolutely everybody else. And I'm going to go with 2 of my favorite from the African American side of the street, which seems to be where Whitey reserves the bulk of his vitriol. And one of my favorites is Jigaboo. Jigaboo. A guy I used to know would do a pantomime of that, where he would start doing a little dance and then look out and say, "Boo, boo, 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 boo." I didn't think he was a God who would gently indoctrinate her into his racist ways, but that's another one of those ones that just sounds too cute to really be as hurtful as a slur should be. Unlike the perennial N-word, which just hits like a switchblade off the tongue and into the soul of the oppressed. But then another one of my favorites, Jungle Bunny. Now that is cute. The average African American, the stereotype is the super physical individual, that they can run as fast as a bunny and they're from the jungle. So that makes a little more sense than, I do not know, I'm still scratching my head over moon cricket. I'll eventually maybe come to terms with it, but maybe not in this lifetime. But the jungle bunny, definitely going to have to do on the shirts from the blog. The Symphony of Slurs. Killing Floor wants to make sure that you can get your teeth kicked in every time you walk out the door. So get yourself one of our shirts. We've got the Moon Cricket shirts going now. We're going to do it's a Jungle Bunny, Crypto Jew. Poor Weave got himself called a Crypto Jew. Doom Coon. I forget what other ones we're going to do. There's just, but we're trying not to double down and hit more than one slur on more than one demographic, which is tough because, face it, all the cute ones are about our African American comrades, and so we may have to break the rules there. Micro Vendettas.
I'm gonna get you, sucker, 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 sucker.
Micro Vendettas, and today we are going to be talking about a little bit about. I saw this woman, and I had heard it done before, and I know she's been worked over a lot. But Ashley Shackelford, I saw a speech that she was giving to a group of oppressors, and I found a paraphrase of basically what I saw in an article in the National Review, and the case for reparations for fat black bitches is, fuck you, pay us. I see thin femmes and women of all races, actually, who are offered protection and care in ways fat black bitches are never granted. Our dehumanization is used to humanize everyone else in the entire world, but no one wants to protect, save, or celebrate us. Everyone just wants to eat off our flesh until we can't satisfy or provide for them anymore. Let me be clear, though. When I say, fuck you, pay me, I mean, fuck you, pay me. Pay me a check, pay me consistently, provide me safe housing, offer me a job with benefits, run me those Beyonce tickets, finance my clothes and wigs and aesthetics, cultivate accessibility to spaces and provide seats that fit me, see and validate my humanity. They're deserved because the intellectual, emotional, and actual physical labor fat black bitches provide is absolutely invaluable to the entire world. Yet here we are, and I'm still owed, still taken from, still waiting. Fuck you. Her words, not mine. Now, I understand it's fun to make a point, but as a Christian, the counter to the Christian concept of grace, if salvation is a gift, that means you are owed nothing. I try to operate from a position of I am owed nothing. I'm not owed a living. I am not owed respect. I am not owed the oxygen that I breathe. and it's just a matter of what I can either get given to me or steal. Stealing can be good, but asking to be given and be paid for your emotional labor. I mean, I am in the emotional labor business. Whoop.
Coach Sprouts is the meat department. How can I help you? Coach Sprouts is the meat department. How can I help you? Coach Sprouts is the meat department.
Are you being served?
Coach Sprouts is the meat
Where we look at the service industry and a life of service in general. Now,
How can I help you?
I have put up a picture recently on social media where a picture of the plaque that I was given after volunteering for the public schools for my son's elementary school for about 5 years, and then a card that they gave me. And I was thinking about the volunteering that I did at my son's elementary school and as a scout leader, and now at my son's high school. I got out of the school volunteering racket, as it were, because I got sick. I'm bipolar, and I wound up in a deep pile of shit for a good long time. But even before I got sick, I started to wonder, it was at a point where my son was wanting a little more distance and, establish, an identity separate from his crazy dad who's always up volunteering at the school all the time. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the feedback and everything. But then the question is, and it became even more clear to me as I got into volunteering at his high school, are you volunteering to help others, or are you volunteering because of that feedback that you get, that virtue signaling type, oh, I feel good about myself for doing this? So are you serving others, or are you self-serving? And I had to think about that, and I got sick, and so I was gone from the school for a couple of years, and I went to check my son out. He's a junior in this high school now, and he took the ACT, and it was a day that he could be checked out early. So I went to check him out, and one of the ladies who works in the office of the school came across, and I'd never really thought of her as an ally per se. She seemed to just tolerate me when I was volunteering up there, and she's like, "Where have you been? We miss you." And I do a carpool. I'm a carpool Nazi, trying to get people to pull forward and not be done and stuff. But and she said that, again, this was high school, so pretty much by then the kids figured out not to get themselves run over, or so I thought. But as it turned out, my presence there was missed, and I'm like, yeah, if it is a mission that's worth doing, I'm ecstatic to do it, and I'm back doing it now. I've taken a new job that makes it a little more difficult, but and the school year is almost over, but that will all sort itself out by next year, I would assume. Nope. It is Laura Loomer's Tire Shop,
Last to breathe.
where we discuss
Everybody
outrage culture.
Tires last for free.
Yes, Laura Loomer's Tire Shop, and today we are going to discuss the dynamic duo of Tawana Brawley and Al Sharpton. You might remember Tawana Brawley. She was found with racial slurs, maybe KKK, written on her, like on her chest in dog feces or something, and I think she said police officers had done awful things to her, and Sharpton got involved, and it turned out to be a what the kids call a hoax, and much recrimination was thrown at both this young lady and at Reverend Sharpton. Now, I have a different level of reproach for Ms. Brawley and Mr. Sharpton, and that is, guys, take Whitey down. by any means necessary. Tawana Brawley did nothing wrong but failed to seal the deal. If Al Sharpton was all of that, we would have had some police scalps on the wall. But no, if you're going to lie, and we all know prosecutors lie all the goddamn time, lie well. Sell the deal. Stick it to the man. Come on. You're better than that. And I don't remember, let's take a look also, I had split this into two things I want to discuss. The Duke Lacrosse debacle. The stripper that went to the Duke Lacrosse party said she got erect. As it turns out, she did not get erect, but a bunch of very privileged young white boys nearly got railroaded by a prosecutor who thought this was going to be good hay to make while the sun was shining. And I don't know who I hate more. Lacrosse boys or crooked prosecutors. I think they showed photo lineups in this case that only had members of the Duke Lacrosse team. He stacked it so bad, and at least we got a prosecutor's scalp on the wall. Oh! Stalin did nothing wrong! We are going to profile, I'm probably not going to pronounce his name right, but Vasily Blokhin, assassin, executioner, Square Joe. Let me find my favorite part in his career, because they describe his weapons and stuff. I wish I could. I wish I'd done my homework, but yes, the Katyn Massacre. Pulaski's most infamous act was the April 1940 execution by shooting of about 7,000 Polish prisoners outside of the Otap prisoner of war camp in the Katyn Forest. As part of Glasnost, Blokhin initially decided on an ambitious quota of 300 executions per night, and engineered an efficient system in which the prisoners were individually led to a small antechamber, which had been painted red and was known as the Leninist room, for a brief and cursory positive identification before being handcuffed and led into the execution room next door. The room was specially designed with padded walls for soundproofing, a sloping concrete floor with a drain and hose, and a log wall for the prisoners to stand against. Blokhin would stand waiting behind the door in his executioner's garb. Here we go. A leather butcher's apron, leather hat, and shoulder-length leather gloves. Then, without a hearing, the reading of a sentence, or any other formalities, each prisoner was brought in and restrained by guards while Blokhin shot him once in the base of the skull with a German Walther Model 225 ACP pistol. He had bought a briefcase full of his own Walther pistols since he did not trust the reliability of the standard-issue Soviet TT-30 for frequent heavy use. The use of a German pocket pistol, which was commonly carried by German police and intelligence agents, also provided plausible deniability of the execution if the bodies were discovered later. And then the usual burial, and he was, let's see. Blokhin was forcibly retired in 1953 following Stalin's death in March. However, his irreproachable service was publicly noted by Beria at the time of his departure. After Beria's fall from power in June of the same year, Blokhin's rank was stripped from him in the de-Stalinization campaigns of Khrushchev. He reportedly sank into alcoholism and severe mental illness and died on February 3, 1955. with the official cause of death listed as suicide. He had a son. He had a wife. And it's just sad that a man who gave so much.
Are there any niggas here tonight?
Oh,
Jesus Christ, you have to get that low for laughs? Have I ever talked about the
Okay.
Schwartz when the Schwartzes are
now
gone?
the tasteless
Or
joke
spoke about the Moulin
repository.
Johns, or placated some southerner by absence of voice, and you ranted and raved about nigga, nigga, nigga. Are there any niggas? I know the one nigga that works here. I see him back there. Oh, there's two niggas, customers, and
Okay.
between those three niggas, there's one kike. Thank God for the kike. Two kikes.
Lenny Bruce,
Two
ladies and
kikes
gentlemen.
Three niggas and one spick. One spick.
We are going to do a series of pedophilia jokes today, sponsored by a Serbian film.
And there's another kike. Three kikes.
As a Serbian film was an allegorical look at the Serbian government's rape of its people. Hence, the pedophilia to me is a microcosm of the brutality the state practices against people. So I am presenting those jokes in that context, and if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself. What is the best thing about getting a hand job from a 4-year-old? Your dick looks huge! What's the best part of sex with a 3-year-old? The primal satisfaction of hearing her pelvic bones crack. What's the hardest part about sex with a 5-year-old? Getting the blood out of your clown suit. And here's a little more of a story. A serial predatory pedophile is walking at dusk with a young boy. He begins to lead the young boy towards a thicket of trees. The young boy becomes uncomfortable and tears well in his eyes. "What's the matter?" the serial predatory pedophile asks the boy. "Well, it's dark and I don't like those trees and I miss my mom and I'm scared," stammers the boy. "What are you complaining about?" asks the pedophile. "I'm the one who has to walk home alone." Yeah, and I got in a internet argument post, it was when Notre Dame burned, which was a damn shame. And a female country artist, cunt, heavy on the cunt in this one, a female country artist was saying that why did we bother rebuilding Notre Dame when all that money could have been used for animal sanctuaries or women's sanctuaries or this or that, but at the same time use gratuitous film of the thing burning, and I will say the sight of Notre Dame burning was really, I mean, it was beautiful in its own way, and it made me sick to my stomach in the same way that the Buddha statues in Afghanistan. Oh! All crew! Diversity. Touched up on this one a little bit, and there was it is the concept. If we're talking about diversity, it's one of those Mobius strip type problems to me. How can we have diversity without separate races? If there is nothing but the Mocha ethno-state of breeding for a homogenous society that some suggest, I guess, I don't know, then there is no diversity because everybody's the same. Do we want to have cultures with their own flavor and individuality, or do we want, what do we want? And why the fuck is this show even on the air? And then, do we want our diversity close or far? I like living amongst people who are different than I am. I want them close. And as we, I think I discussed a little bit on the last thing, I haven't really listened to the last thing. You know, some of the white separatists and black separatists for that matter, or Mexican, or, you know, whatever separatists, they are not opposed to the other. They just want the other separate and as far away as possible. So what do you do? Now, a certain amount, even of, you say that people who are racial purists, I'm reminded of the Habsburg jaw. The inbreeding that occurred among the European heads of state in trying to make sure that the families stayed on top of the monarchies had some really ugly genetic consequences, and you get dogs or horses or stuff that are too purebred, and all of a sudden the recessive traits that might have been hidden before become dominant, and they just get weird or yes, the crowd's had a word for it. Now, this one isn't technically the crowds. I think it's the Danish on this one that are the, and this is from A Concise Etymological Dictionary of the English Language by Walter William Skeat. And I believe Mr. Skeat wrote this in 1901, and we were dealing with the word butterfly. And he said butterfly. Trying to get my butterfly. So called for its excrement resembling butter, as shown by the Danish butterskite, meaning butter voider. And I don't know about y'all, but to me, butterflies fluttering by are kind of pretty and stuff in their own way, but when you get up close, their mouth parts, and when I see a butterfly eating from a flower, I'm filled with an urge to vomit or just smash them with the nearest heavy object possible. And that someone took the time to figure out what butterfly shit looks like and then name the animal as such. I don't know. That's the Danish mindset anyway. But back to the German. I will mispronounce this, of course, because my brother is a German teacher, and I thought that we were always told that our family was German, but it turned out to be a damn dirty lie. I did the 23andMe or Ancestry.com, and not a drop of German blood in there. Not any Jewish either, so I don't know what the fuck I am. But Der Käse steht allein. That is the last line from The Farmer in the Dell. The cheese stands alone. But you can listen to maybe Anstoßende Neubauten or Rammstein or some things like that, and you can listen to music with lyrics in German, and it sounds infinitely more sinister than what is actually being said. So not only do they have a word for it, but their tone of voice and the guttural stops and fits and starts to the tongue itself. And maybe it's just because we all grew up listening to the Nuremberg rallies, but German is fucking creepy. What have we here? Blackout Memories. Okay, last time I sort of declined to play ball with this one, and I found one that I can do. When I was a freshman in OCU, Oklahoma City University, I was drinking an awful lot back then, and was first becoming cognizant of the dynamic of an alcoholic blackout. And I remembered, I think I'd been drinking a bunch of Stolchnaya vodka the night before, and it was time for typing class, and I woke up in typing class, and I was typing. Or I say woke up, I washed out of the blackout, and I awoke or came back to consciousness, and I was typing, and the first thought that came to my mind was, if I can do this, I could play guitar. I had tried to learn to play guitar, I was 10 or 11 or something like that, and my mother had got an acoustic guitar and took lessons down at Larson's Music, and instead of the teacher was very much about teaching theory at the same time that they were teaching how to play, and it was more, again, wanting to learn how to play, read music and play single notes as opposed to bashing chords, which I think that if you're teaching kids to play guitar, you might want to teach them stuff that they can, feel like they're able to make some sound first. And I lacked the physical coordination to really be able to do what he wanted me to do, and I was learning music theory without, or reading music without ever having, taken piano, which I think is sort of a foundation for that, because everything is, laid out on the piano in a much simpler way, and became frustrated and quit. And then my older brother picked up the guitar and really soared with it fairly quickly, which doubled down on my feelings of uselessness. But I then, when I was living in Chicago, excuse me, my wife at the time had a Fender LeBray, which was an acoustic.
Read a book, motherfucker! Read a book, motherfucker! Read a book, motherfucker! Read a book, motherfucker!
Today's book, I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm going to read a little bit from the Book of Revelations, which is today's book in the Read a Book Motherfucker world. I'm going to read the story first of the woman on the beast. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, and I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of earth been drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit and into the wilderness, And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names and blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The beast that thou saw was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. And they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 horns are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is one of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. They have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are tongues and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou saw on the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God hath put their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, and unto the word shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is the great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. This is the Church on Acid segment. We're going to talk today. I don't see them as much around town here in Oklahoma City as I used to, but I used to see them around Classen, and I think there's different places that they may hang in town. I'm not sure, but it is the Black Hebrew Israelites. I did not know their name until recently, and I realized they're a nationwide thing, and there are members of their flock who are not so extreme. Yet the ones that were around here, they dressed like Darth Vader almost, but in aluminum foil or some shit, and they would just walk down the street in class, and my son and I did not know, we called them the SWAN, S-W-A-A-N, the Star Wars African American Ninjas, and they are the more extreme congregations of their group are, as anti-whitey as, hey, anti-whitey, sign me up, but they seem to be anti-whitey and anti-woman, and women should be subservient, that sort of old-time religion. And what I want to do, as far as Church on Acid, and this segment is we drop acid and then we go to church. I'm going to drop some acid and find the lair of the Black Hebrew Israelites and ask them how we can help destroy whiteness from the inside. You don't have to be non-white to hate whiteness. Hating whiteness is a good thing. Help us swans to destroy ourselves. did not find the book that I wanted. I thought it would be so easy to just go online and get a copy of The Happy Hooker. But they've got all these things. This is King James everything, by the way. I was going to feed The Happy Hooker into the King Jamesifier site that's on the dark web, and I could not get The Happy Hooker. There are these, that, and my goodness, the Jean Genet book that I wanted to do too. It's digital, but they treat it like a lending library. They'll only lend out so many copies of it at once, which is just silly. I mean, just give it to us and give it to us for free. But no, you can only have so many. They want to virtually create the feeling of a library. But I was able to get a hold of a Portnoy's complaint. So here is the beginning of Portnoy's complaint. The most unforgettable character I hath met. Was she so deeply embedded in my consciousness that for the first year of schooling, I seemed to have believed that each of my teachers was my mother, disguised. As soon as the last bell sounded, rush would I off for home, wondering as I did strum if I could possibly make it to our domicile before she had succeeded in transformation. Forsooth, she was already in the kitchen by the time I arrived, setting out my nourishment. Instead of causing me to give up my delusions, however, the feat merely intensified my respect for her powers. And then it was always a relief not to compare between incarnations anyway, even if I never stopped trying. I knew father, sister, innocent of my mother's real nature, and lo, the burden of betrayal I imagined would fall on me if I ever came upon her unawares, was more than bearing at 5. I could think I even feared that I might have been done away with were I to catch her, or making herself emerge limb from limb, out of invisible state, apron in two. Forsooth and verily, when asked to tell me in kindergarten, did so I scrupulously, pretended not understand all the implications of her ubiquity, but that it had with finding the kind of little boy I was when she wasn't around, that indisputable was. Consequentially, this fantasy surviveth in the first grade, was seeing as I had become honest. Ah, brilliant was I. My sister, overweight, sallow, drunk on the blood of the martyrs, my mother would say, in her presence, of course, honesty being thy path, the child is no genius, but we do not ask the impossible. Lord bless her, hard she works, and applieth herself to the task, so whatever she gets is all right. And there you have it. I'm still not going to bag on Ted. You'd love me to, I'm not going to do it.
Never before have I turned on you when you look too good to me. The beady eyes that you cut me into, and I just can't let you be. But it's a free for all, and hard as said, you can bet your life. Stakes are high, and so am I. It's in the air tonight.
Ted Nugent, ladies and gentlemen, and this is Coochie Review, where we talk about sexual experiences of your writer, your podcaster, that is. I'm not going to talk about anything specific today. I don't really feel, the last experience I discussed was a delightful, anonymous experience, and I felt, it's a figure out. Okay, then back to this. I felt fine about talking about that. It was, I did not feel like any confidences were being betrayed per se, but if any of you have ever been in a 12-step program, you have to do something called the 4th step, and in your 4th step, you have to write down all of your sexual experiences, and what you did right, what you did wrong, whether you owe amends in this situation. And it's an interesting process. I went through it. I may have it written down somewhere. I might have thrown it away or pawned it or whatever, because then comes the fifth step where you have to read your entire fourth step to someone, and that took me like 10 hours, and not because I had a lot of sexual experiences either. But another point that I got into on the blog a while back, and especially I will mention this in the Coochie area, writers are constantly mining you for information. So if you ever are thinking about getting into a relationship with a writer or a comedian or any sort of or songwriter or anything, all they are doing is looking for grist for their mill. They want to use your experience and their experience with you as something to push their little red wagon forward. They are truly incapable of loving anyone but themselves and are using you, stealing from you, using your emotional labor, thinly disguising you to where all your friends know it's you that's being talked about. And it's horrible. Do not date writers. Shit, don't date anybody. Just stay home, masturbate, and have a better life. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're getting towards the end of another one. This is this is our May the 19th show. It may go up today, it may go up tomorrow, I'm not sure. But thank you for listening, if you did listen, and if you didn't listen, that's fine too. Oh yeah. Music to Watch Girls by Bob Crew. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to mention our sponsors. These are fake sponsors. No one would really pump any money into this dumper. TechLock, Northwest 18th and Classic Boulevard in Oklahoma City. TechLock, avoid a catastrophe. Sprouts Farmers Market at Northwest 63rd and May Avenue. Sprouts, none dare call it quality. Honest Ron's Guitars, 10th and May Avenue. Honest Ron's Guitars. If you say a pittance for a man of your means one more time, I'm going to go upside your head with that American Sunburst Strat that's been on your wall for the last 10 years because your prices are so fucking exorbitant. Bill Camp's Meat Market, 73rd and Western Avenue. Bill Camp's Meat Market. Put on this helmet. We're about to start throwing free stuff at you. Paya Electronics in Edmond, Oklahoma. Manufacturers of theremin, analog synth, and other specialty electronic project kits. Paya. If it doesn't work, file your complaint to the Mirror. Windsor Hills Baptist Church in Northwest 23rd MacArthur in Northwest Oklahoma City. Windsor Hills Baptist. Hate the sin, love the sinner? Fuck that. Our God hates everybody. Few words to live by here. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. One man's joke is another man's slander. If Jesus can take a spear, he can take a joke. Ladies, I am like Einstein in the streets and Hawking in the sheets. Socioeconomic equality doesn't come from a lower tax rate, it comes from a higher guillotine. Slave Ray did nothing wrong. Get right with Palestine. And of course, Wet Radio would be nothing without the amazing life and epic death of the Blessed Father Stanley Rother. Learn him, live him, love him, help him save the world. This is Wet Radio, the audio blogzillary of the Killing Floor blog. My name is John Manson. I love you all dearly, and my life is dedicated to and in the strong, steady, tender hands of my goddess. Allah Akbar, y'all, and live best life.